Dear students, in continuation to yesterday's talk or lecture, where we had tried to understand about Babur, the next important ruler in the Mughal dynasty happens to be Humayun. But in between Babur and Humayun, have discussed about Sher Shah, basically because the contribution of Babur is very clear in giving a geographical definition of what a Mughal empire will be. The period of Humayun is characterized by efforts to defend the empire and continue the empire under the banner of Mughal dynasty. Neither Babur nor Humayun were successful in giving an idea of state. In continuation, we will have to discuss about Humayun. Why I have in between Babur and Humayun, why I have discussed about Sher Shah is basically, I just wanted you to have an idea of a state. And the idea of a state is given by Sher Shah, not by Babur or Humayun. And the state, as it was given by Sher Shah, continues to grow as a state, as a benevolent state under Akbar. So the period of Babur and Humayun is characterized by intense political strife. In the case of Babur, it was to give a geographical definition of what an empire is. In case of Humayun, it is an idea to defend what he has inherited. In the process of defending, he lost the empire to Afghans, that is Sher Shah. So when we are looking at the period of Babur, Humayun and Sher Shah put together, this period is a period of intense political strife, where the strife is going on between Babur and Humayun representing the Mughal forces, Sher Shah representing the Afghan forces, and other Rajput forces that were there in the Confederation of Rajputana, Gujarat, and other parts of North India. So this tripartite struggle continues under Humayun also. So when you take the period of Humayun, you have two specific periods. One period was 1530 to 1540, and the second period was from 1555 to 1556. So in fact, when you just try to look at it, why I have given two dates is basically because of the fact that when he was, after Babur, when he becomes the emperor, he loses the empire to Sher Shah. And this is what makes the Mughal empire an interesting, the initial stages of Mughal empire, an interesting phase where Babur establishes the empire, Humayun loses the empire and again regains the empire. The next, this is a photograph or a portrait of Humayun, which I have put up for you to have an understanding. There also I have mentioned that the periods are 1530 and 1540 and 1555 to 1556. And now I will have to give you an idea of the extent of Mughal empire under Humayun and Babur put together. If you can just see the map, the empire is extending from Afghanistan down to the Deccan provinces, covering Bengal, Gujarat, and other areas of northern India, almost touching or going beyond the Himalayan ranges. So if you just look at the geographical definition, map, if you look at just the geographical map, it becomes very clear that by the time of Humayun also, the empire was a very vast empire. So in this context, we would like to have an idea of the struggle that Humayun had put up in establishing and defending the Mughal empire. So when we're just trying to understand the antecedents of Humayun, Humayun's full name was Nasiruddin Humayun. Humayun means to be fortunate, a person who is considered to be lucky, who is considered to be fortunate. That kind of an impression is given when you are using the word Humayun. So his actual name was Nasiruddin, and the title Humayun was given to him basically because he was considered to be one of the luckiest Mughal rulers in the entire of the Mughal Empire. But it is only the irony of the fate of Humayun was that he was an enemy to himself. And as a ruler, he was a very unlucky ruler. Okay, in the title, we find him to be a very lucky person. But when you look at the times and careers of Humayun, you find him to be very unlucky. The reason is, when you just look into the circumstances under which he has inherited the empire and the efforts that he has put in, the fact that he loses the empire and regains his empire, there was absolutely no kind of period of peace during the period of Humayun period. So when Humayun succeeded the throne as the eldest son of Babur, he was just 23 years old. Indifferent to his father's wishes, that is, he did not take the experience of Babur into consideration, and was not just trying to go what Babur was trying to impress upon him. Indifference to his father's wishes, who had asked him to treat his brothers generously. See, why Babur was saying that is because of the fact that when you establish an empire as vast as this, you should not have any kind of an in-house struggle. As per the Islamic theory, the fittest can become the ruler of the kingdom. See, in the Hindu theory of kingship, the throne after the father's death automatically goes to the son, eldest son. The younger sons do not have a claim. But in the Islamic theory of kingship, if a king has 3 or 4 brothers, everyone has a claim over the throne. So Babur was advising Humayun to see that his brothers don't go against him. This idea was not taken by Humayun, where he did not treat his brothers on a compassionate ground, on a siblings ground. So he was, what Babur felt was that if you could manage your brothers, then you could manage the empire. This is a kind of an idea that Babur had, and that was the reason he was trying to impress on Humayun, which Humayun did not pay to. The chief reason for Humayun's difficulties, when you just try to observe, was that Babur had no time to consolidate his empire as soon as he died. Immediately after the death of Babur, Humayun did not have any time to consolidate the empire. The reason is because of the fact that Afghans were there in Bihar and Bengal, Muhammad Lodi and Sher Khan were there, and in Gujarat, Bahadur Shah was there, and all these rulers, after the death of Babur, were trying to capture Delhi and its suburbs. So you have political condition, political atmosphere very, very much, against Humayun. The reason is his brothers were trying to sit on the throne. You have the Afghan elements, you have Bahadur Shah Zafar from Gujarat, you had Sher Khan descendants, you had the Lodi dynasty. So all of these people pressed together, you had the Rajputs. So defending the empire itself became a major struggle for Humayun. It was not like the times of Jahangir or Shah Jahan, where everything was consolidated. The political conditions were consolidated, the socio-economic conditions were consolidated, and as a result of which you have a cultural glory, which you call the golden age of the Mughals. The same thing cannot be said with regard to Humayun, basically because of the fact that you had intense political strife as soon as he is trying to sit on the throne at a tender age of around about 23 years. So this is the reason we consider him to be an unlucky ruler. But Humayun's worst enemy, probably, when you just try to this is the circumstances that were prevailing and the kind of a fate that he had to face. But strictly speaking, the greatest enemy was always, he did things in halves. He never, do a job completely and then go to the next job. No, that was not the attitude. He used to start a job, leave it in part, and then take up the next job. So when you're trying to consolidate in the empire and expand the empire, never do anything in halves. So this was something, that is the reason, as I said earlier, he was an enemy to himself, where he was not able to come up with a proper vision of how to consolidate it. That is the reason he also loses the empire to Sher Shah. And with a lot of difficulty, in that context, we can say that Humayun was fortunate because he was able to regain the empire. If at all Sher Shah had a longer life, then the Mughal empire would have never become a reality in the Indian context. In that context, I was trying to tell you that Humayun was to some extent lucky because even after losing the empire, he was able to regain the empire and becomes a cause for the continuity of the Mughal empire and the establishment of the Mughal empire in the Indian context. So I'll just try to briefly explain what were the kind of wars that he had to face. As I'm telling you, this was a period which was a period of political intense strife. There was no kind of attention that was paid towards law, towards judiciary, towards socio-economic conditions, or towards the development, as you find in the case or during the times of Sher Shah Suri. You don't find this during the period of Humayun, basically because it was a period of political intense strife. So if you take the first period, that is from 1531 to 32, Humayun led an army against the Afghans. The main contenders after the Delhi Sultanate who were trying to resist the Mughals were the Afghans. So he led an army against the Afghans, defeated Muhammad Lodi, and besieged the forts of Chunar. So the Lodis were there in and around Delhi. He raises an army, marches against Delhi, defeats the Lodis. Remember, the Lodis were Afghans. And Sher Shah Khan happens to be a descendant of that particular Afghan group which was there in Delhi at that particular period of time. So, after besieging the Chunar fort, Sher Khan appears on the scene and made a show of submission. He pretends that he is submitting to Humayun, which was not actually the truth. As this Humayun returned to Agra, he did not bring Sher Khan with him, or he did not, put him in chains and take him to Delhi. He did not nothing. Okay, he surrendered, he left him, and he comes back to Agra without completely subduing him. See, I was telling you just now that he never did a job completely. That was his greatest enemy. You start a job, leave it halfway, take up the next one. The first step itself, wherein Humayun is trying to put in some kind of an effort to defeat the Afghans, the main contender were the Afghans, and Sher Khan was already an acknowledged general in the service of the Afghans and the Lodi dynasty. So when such a person was in control of a fort, you march against him, and when he pretends that he has surrendered, you return. That was a big mistake which Humayun had made. It was this great blunder on the part of Humayun which left Sher Khan free to consolidate power in eastern India. Because he had not subdued him, he left him free. He comes back, and in that period, Sher Khan consolidates his power in the east. Humayun wasted for about 2 years in Delhi and Agra in merrymaking. What Humayun thought was that I have marched to Chunar, Sher Khan has surrendered, so he will surrender permanently. He comes back and he starts enjoying his life. So this 2 years gave the buffering time for Sher Khan to consolidate his position in the east, okay, and march towards Delhi. Okay, so this was the first encounter between Sher Khan and Babur. In the second phase, when we're just trying to understand, between 1535 and 36, Humayun set to Gujarat. Okay, marches to Delhi, towards Delhi, meets Sher Khan at Chunar, and they go back to eastern India and they consolidate power. Now he's concentrating on Gujarat. And what happens is that in Gujarat, you have Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah was quite a powerful ruler. He was quite a powerful ruler. And Bahadur Shah became a fugitive. Once he marched there, he becomes a fugitive. He loses against Humayun and he becomes a fugitive. Gujarat and Malwa were also conquered. So after Gujarat, he turns towards Malwa, and Malwa was also conquered. After this, Humayun received, when he was at war in Malwa with the Rajput forces, Humayun receives the information that Sher Khan, who had subdued in the Chunar Fort struggle, was on his departure, and Bahadur Shah quickly recovered Gujarat and Malwa. So when from the east, suddenly you find Sher Shah coming, and here in Gujarat, you have Bahadur Shah recovering, and he is coming up with a contest. So neither Bahadur Shah was completely defeated, nor Sher Khan was defeated. You just had a war with them. They were not subdued completely. They were not eliminated. So between 1535 and 36, what is happening? You have again a resurgence of the Afghan forces. So what happens in 1537? If we see, Humayun moved against Sher Khan, leaving pending work in Gujarat, Malwa, etc. He moves towards Sher Khan, but had to spend a long time in Chunar. Sorry. That Sher Khan had to capture the Gaur, or the capital of Bengal. So you have Chunar, you have Bengal, you have Bihar, and this was the area where Sher Khan was operating, and Gaur was a place which was very important in and around Bengal, because there was a lot of treasures in that area. Whether you talk in terms of soil and other aspects, it was an area of immense treasures. And from there, he escapes. So Sher Khan escapes. So what Humayun does? Humayun captures Gaur and wasted his time there for 3 months. So you just capture, you meet at a point where there's a small battle and someone loses the battle. It doesn't mean that that is the end victory. Doesn't mean that it is the end victory. But when Gaur was captured, Humayun felt that, yes, again Sher Khan is defeated. Okay. So this was, at every stage, you see, he marches towards Bengal, he marches towards Chunar, makes wrong calculations. This was his greatest enemy. So Sher Khan cut off all the communications between Delhi and Bengal. This was another, when you cut off the communications, even you will not get the information. That will be the basic problem, the basic mistake which Humayun made or compelled Sher Khan to do it. So Sher Khan, after he had captured Gaur, and when Humayun was making merry in Gaur, Sher Khan very intelligently cuts off all the communications between Delhi and Gaur. So Sher Khan cuts off all the communication between Delhi and Bengal, and the provisions that were supposed to reach Humayun, they are stopped. Because the communications are cut off by Sher Khan, and those areas were being monitored by Sher Khan. And in this particular period, Humayun was making merry in Gaur area. Suddenly, Humayun finds himself in a difficult position where all provisions, here provisions I mean men, material, everything. Okay, so Humayun had to retreat. So he had to again go back to Delhi. So, but Sher Khan made a sudden attack. So look at the strategy of Sher Khan. Sher Khan loses in Gaur, retreats, and when Humayun is making merry, he cuts off the communication. And when Sher Khan, when the provisions are cut off, when Babur is trying to go back to Delhi, he attacks Babur. When Babur is on retreat, when Babur is on, not Babur, Humayun. When Humayun is on march, he is not making an attack. But when Humayun is on retreat, he is making an attack. So this is the way you find the general qualities of Sher Shah, and that explains why Sher Shah's suit had become so powerful and why he was able to, he had some kind of an acumenship. So, and this battle, retreating battle, met at the, banks of Chunar and Buxar. And this is what you call the Buxar, or on the banks of the Ganga in the year 1539. This battle becomes a very important battle, and Humayun's army suffers heavy losses. Okay, Humayun's army suffers heavy losses, and he himself escaped, very narrowly. In fact, Sher Khan would have taken physical control of Humayun at that particular period of time. But he escapes, he successfully escapes, and managed to reach Agra. If Humayun was caught, that would have been the end of the Mughal Empire. But he escapes and marches to Agra. This victory of Chauza makes Sher Khan the ruler of Bengal and Bihar. He becomes ultimately, see, what has Humayun done? Humayun has marched towards Gujarat. When he marched towards Gujarat, Sher Khan was trying to consolidate his position in Bengal and Bihar. Leaving Gujarat, Humayun marches towards Sher Khan, that is Gujarat and Bengal, takes up the battle of Gauza, loses the battle, and on the retreat, when he's trying to run away to Agra, after facing a defeat at the hands of Sher Khan, this was the time when he had to put himself in exile. Because he almost lost Agra, Gujarat becomes powerful, and suddenly you have two formidable forces which were contesting for Delhi. One, Bahadur Shah from Gujarat, and the other one, Sher Khan from Bengal. So this particular period, or this battle of Buxar, happens to be in the year on the banks of river Ganga in the year 1539 between Humayun and Sher Khan, happened to be very detrimental. The next year, if you just take the next year, that is in 1514, Humayun again leads a huge army against Sher Khan, but was defeated decisively near Kanauj and fled the country. This was the worst thing to do. Okay, when Sher Khan had consolidated his position in Bengal and almost had become the emperor of Bengal and Bihar, and when your forces were not formidable, it was again in 1539 he made a mistake, and again in 1540 he makes a mistake, and that makes Sher Shah and the Afghans become the rulers of North India. The entire of North India goes under the control of the Afghans. So the two battles, that is the battle of Kanauj and the battle of Buxar, which were not completed. See, if you take right from Gujarat, the battle of Gujarat was not completed, the battle of Gaur was not completed, the battle of Buxar was not completed, the battle of Kanauj were not completed. When you take a war, you should put a decisive end to that war. Humayun did not do that. That was the reason I was trying to tell you that the greatest enemy for Humayun was his own indecisiveness, not taking decisions completely, making half decisions. Do something, don't complete it, go back, again come back. This was not the way he was trying to, this is not the way you try to expand your empire. So we will see the next phase of Humayun's life where he was in exile. Sher Shah Suri pursued Humayun and the fleeing Mughals to Lahore. You know Lahore, the present-day Pakistan. Okay. Here, Humayun's brothers again displayed their selfishness and jealousy. If you remember, in the beginning I told you that Babur had given an advice to Humayun that you be nice to your siblings. But at that time, Humayun does not pay any heed to Babur's advice, and because of that, Babur's brothers, they flee to Lahore and try to consolidate the position in and around Lahore. So when Humayun is defeated at the hands of Sher Khan and Bahadur Shah was very aggressive in Gujarat, he starts moving towards Lahore to take help from his brothers, whom he had heard and literally had pushed them away from Delhi and its suburbs after Babur immediately. So the logical end will be that his brothers, they will never be interested in helping Humayun. And that is what actually happens. So Humayun becomes a homeless wanderer. He loses Delhi, tries to get Bengal and Bihar, loses it, tries to get Gujarat, loses it, goes to Lahore, goes to Lahore, does not get any kind of assistance from his brothers, so he is put in an exile. When this was all going on, this was the time when on 23rd November, okay, the great Mughal emperor was born to Humayun, and that was Akbar. It was on 23rd November 1942 when Humayun lost everything and is wandering between Peshawar and Rajasthan, that is Amarkot, that you have the birth of Akbar on 23rd November 1542. So this is the one best thing that had happened to Humayun when he was in exile is the birth of Akbar. So leaving that, when you let us go on, we come down to the year 1544. Humayun reached Persia. So from here, when he does not get the help from his brothers, he moves towards Persia, and which was a very, it was the region from where these people had come. So in 1544, when Humayun reaches Persia or Iran, Shah Tamsha granted him asylum. He gave him refuge. He becomes an refugee. He was not able to survive anywhere here, so he reaches Iran or he reaches Persia and takes asylum in the kingdom of Shah Tamsha, on the condition that he would declare himself a Shia and hand over Kandar after conquering it to Shah. So Shah, what Shah did, he puts two conditions. Okay, I'll give you an army, and you will have to see, you have two major forts, the Shias and the Sunnis. So these people were Sunnis. So he said, you should become a Shia. I'll give you an army. You should go and capture Kandar. These were the two conditions which were put on Humayun, for which Humayun accepts. And sorry, he, in the year 1545, with the help of Shah armies, after a hot fight, a very strongly fought battle with his brothers Aksari and Karman, Humayun captures Kandhar and Kabul. So he loses Gujarat, he loses Bengal, he loses Delhi, goes to Iran, seeks the help of Shah Tamsha, takes an army, wages a war against his brother, and defeats them in the Battle of Kandhar. But as promised to Shah, what was Shah's condition? There were two conditions. One is that he should become a Shia. The second condition is that if he wins the Battle of Kandhar, that region should be surrendered to the Empire of Iran. So he had to fulfill this condition. And this becomes a bone of contention. See, the war was fought by Humayun. Humayun wins the war. So now you have a difference of opinion coming between Mughals and Persians. So interesting developments. Okay. So let us see what happens next. Seshasur died in the meantime. This was the best thing that could happen for Humayun in his life. Seshasur, who had literally driven Humayun away from Delhi, he dies suddenly. This was a blessing. So Humayun moved to India. And that is where you can say that Humayun was a lucky fellow. After defending Sikandar Sur, who was the ruler of Srihand, occupied Delhi and Agra. So you have the death of Seshasur, and Sikandar Sur takes control of Delhi and its suburbs. Humayun marches back to Delhi, defeats Sikandar Sur, and gets Delhi and Agra under his control in the year 1555. So the next 1 year, that is from 1555 to 1556, I will show you a next slide if I have. Let me see if I have a next slide in which I can show you, I can give you some information. The next slide, I think so I don't have that slide. I have a slide where I just wanted to show you another comparative map between the map which you are actually seeing now and the empire that was regained by Humayun. So I don't have that map. Sometime in future I'll try to show you that map. So you have Humayun losing a major empire. You see that rose color was an empire. The entire area of rose which you find was an empire which was established by the combined efforts of Babur and Humayun. So that empire was lost, and the entire empire was limited to, when he regains it, it was limited to Agra, Delhi, Fatehpur Sikri, and Lucknow. This was the limited area which he recovers, and from that particular period, you can see again the resurgence of the Mughal Empire. So, in conclusion, we can say that Humayun was not destined. It was not in his fate to enjoy the throne for a long time. Though he was there for a long time, he was there almost for a period of 15 years. He was not able to enjoy the Mughal Empire for a period of 15 years. He lost it and he recovers it. He died shortly after the effects of an accidental fall. He had an accidental fall from the staircase in a library at Delhi. So he was going up the library. He has a fall, and in Delhi in the year 1556, and he hardly ruled after regaining the power back. He ruled for hardly 7 months, after which he expires and the period of Akbar begins. So we can say in conclusion that whether it was in his empire or whether it was in his political struggle, Humayun always tumbled. The best thing was that every time he tumbled, he got up. Okay. But when he tumbles down the library staircase, fate takes over him and he dies. So, in the next class, we will take up Akbar. We will take up Akbar in 3-4 different parts and try to explain Akbar's political career, Akbar's conquest, wars, administration, religious policy, cultural development, etc., etc., buildings, etc., etc. So, this is all about Humayun. See you in the next class.